Everybody knows who Donald Trump is. Even his supporters know who he is. We got to let them know who we are. We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts.
The Iowa State Fair is underway. It is a great American event, make no mistake. The problem is you may just want to walk around with the family, grab a double bacon-wrapped corn dog and a funnel cake on a stick maybe, but you also have to be ready to run into one or two presidential candidates. In fact, as many as 24 of them if you're not careful. Warren, Harris, Bullock, and Biden were among those in Iowa today. Biden was asked at the fair today what many candidates have been asked in recent days, whether or not he thinks President Trump is a white supremacist.
Do you believe that the president is a white supremacist?
I believe everything the president says is done encourages white supremacists. And I'm not sure there's much of a distinction. As a matter of fact, it may be even worse.
Meanwhile, a new Monmouth poll out of Iowa today shows Biden leading the field at 28%. Warren's in second with 19. That's up 12 points, notably, since April. Harris in third with 11, and so on. Back with us tonight is Mike Memoli, our NBC News national political reporter who spent the day at the state fair covering Joe Biden. And Mike, as you know, there is news tonight. And before we play it, we should probably make a couple of things clear. News media love a theme. So for years, the F8 key on every political reporter's keyboard has been gaffe-prone Joe Biden. And indeed, some of the coverage in the last few hours has been he's done it again. This year, the Dems are pushing back a little bit, warning against gaffe normalization, saying don't somehow compare what Biden says in a spare moment to the president's day yesterday, for example. With that in mind, Mike, I'm going to show this. This is from an event tonight. We'll discuss it on the other side.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
There it was. Mike Memoli, over to you. What to make of it?
Well, Brian, I was actually at that event tonight where the vice president made those remarks, and you did some good job putting this larger conversation into context. Let me talk about that specific event tonight as well. That was part of a 40-minute stump speech that the former vice president gave to a crowd tonight before then launching into a Q&A session that itself lasted longer than 40 minutes itself, followed by what you know well would be another 20 to 30 minutes of handshakes and photos and selfies. And I'm willing to bet that if you asked all those who were in attendance after the event about that moment you just played, it may not have even registered to many in the room. I'm willing to bet even for some of those reporters who were there with me today after a long day at the state fair, it barely registered. But in the political moment that we're in, with the scrutiny that is on Joe Biden and his performance specifically throughout this campaign, it's not a moment that's going to be lost to his opponents, both Republican and Democrat. And very quickly, of course, the Trump campaign, the Trump war room, as it's put, circulated a even more abbreviated version of that clip, leaving out that split second where you can sense that the vice president caught his words that may have been a bit of a poor choice of words or maybe not put it in the full context as well. So this, I think, speaks to the fact that, especially after yesterday, when in Burlington, the vice president delivered a very stinging rebuke of Trump's presidency, his lack of moral leadership, they're very eager to turn the focus back onto Joe Biden.
Mike, as you know, it's a very interesting event. It is a great American event, the State Fair in Iowa. And yes, when you talk to a Mike Memoli and a camera, you're talking to a national audience, but you're still walking around Iowa. I remember the late Fred Thompson was roundly criticized. I think he wore Gucci loafers to the Iowa State Fair. It looked like he chose Iowa in a toss-up with Nantucket. How you act, what you wear, how you carry yourself really matters, as it should to an Iowa audience.
Absolutely. No, there's one reason that we're going to see 24 presidential candidates, including one Republican, by the way, in William Weld, attend the state fair, speak at that soapbox. This is an excellent opportunity for that hand-to-hand retail campaigning that certainly we know Joe Biden loves well. Iowa, of course, the early caucus, the first in the nation caucus, is all about organizing, and it takes a lot of effort to get yourself all over the state to different communities to begin to build that support. Well, there are going to be 1.1 million people who go through the turnstiles that I did today over the next 11 days, many from every corner of Iowa. So this is really a fish in a barrel kind of moment for these candidates. And it's an important one. We saw, I think, if Joe Biden could run for president every day like he did yesterday in delivering what he felt was a sort of presidential moment type speech focused on the president, but also a moment like today where he walked in through those turnstiles, went straight to an ice cream stand, was doing a lot of handshakes and selfies himself. That is the kind of campaign that Joe Biden wants to wage day in and day out. But of course, he's got to do an awful lot more than that, including those debate performances that have been so scrutinized as well.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.